What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the Star Wars edition of the Ragin Nation show. This is just a web series where we're talking about all things that matter to me in the world of Star Wars films. This is episode number 21, and of course, I'm sure by now you guys have all seen Star Wars. Episode 7, The Force Awakens. I have seen it twice. It was amazing. Can't wait to go watch it again. And I'm pretty sure that some of you guys might not have seen it yet, so if you want to know my thoughts about it, you can check out the previous video, which is my spoiler-free review. It is completely safe to watch. But I'm going to give you a warning right now. This is my spoiler-filled talkback discussion. We are going to be talking about specific things. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty details about all the things that I liked, some things that could have used some improvement, some things that I found were quite surprising. And then I'm going to ask a few questions about the film that perhaps some of you guys can answer. So without further ado, let's start off this video with the things that I did enjoy about this movie that I thought were really, really awesome. And we're going to start off with the beginning of the film, and that is when we get the introduction of Kylo Ren when he comes down to Jakku. Poe Dameron fires a blaster rifle shot at him, and then suddenly he goes and then he stops the laser rifle blast in mid-air. Like, that laser blast was still in mid-air, and that was freaking awesome. I mean, that really blew my mind, because we've seen in the past 6 films the way the Force has been used in the same ways over and over and over again. Jedi mind tricks, a telekinesis, and a little bit of a seeing of the future, but we've never seen a laser blast being frozen in midair, and that was awesome, because when the camera gets closer to the blast, you can hear the sound that it makes, and it just sounds very, very it sounds very dangerous. It's like there's this buzzing noise, right? And then once his force focus is gone, after he exits the scene, then the laser blast hits something. So that was freaking awesome. That really set the tone for the film, because it showed us that we were going to get introduced to a lot of new elements, okay? Another thing that I thought was very interesting is something that wasn't really addressed in the previous films, is how, you know, in the original trilogy, we never actually see Chewbacca get shot. We've seen Luke get shot. We've seen Leia get shot, but we've never actually seen Han get shot. I mean, sorry, Chewie get shot. And we see Chewie get shot, and it was really surprising, because when he gets shot, he made this noise that really showed us how much he was in pain. And I don't think that it's anything that any of us expected. In fact, it was almost like a statement that J.J. Abrams was trying to address things that have never been addressed, but were always questionable, all right? So that was something that I liked about this movie, because, like I said before, it was something that we did not expect to see. It's just introducing a bunch of new elements. Another new element that I thought was really interesting is the way that stormtroopers have personalities. Before, of course, stormtroopers were just these nameless, faceless goons. They were just these grunts. But now they have voices. They have ways to express themselves. They show fear. They show defiance. You know what I'm saying? They come with female voices. They come with voices that sound very, very distinct, and they also come with faces, because when Finn removes that helmet, it shows that now there's a man with an actual personality. That's a human being underneath that. So that really changes things a lot. In fact, it changes the whole Star Wars game entirely, especially when we get introduced to the fact that these stormtroopers have emotional connections with each other. So very, very different, okay? Once again, a new element that is introduced to the Star Wars saga, all right? Next thing I really, really liked is, and in no particular order, was BB-8. I was thinking that, you know what, we're going to see C-3PO, we're going to see R2-D2, we're going to see BB-8, and they're going to have this awesome interaction with each other. But we actually get a lot of screen time devoted to BB-8. R2-D2 and C-3PO actually get very, very minimal screen time. It's great to see them again, but BB-8 really steals the show. BB-8 is comic relief. BB-8 is adorable. BB-8 is a very likable character that isn't even a humanoid character. He, just like R2-D2, is a droid. I guess he would be an astromech droid, but at least it's a droid that has so much personality and communicates in so many different ways and has so many abilities that like physical abilities that make him so likable. So I think J.J. Abrams did a really great job in helping the fans really get accustomed to this new character. I mean, this film introduces a lot of new characters to Star Wars fans, and it's great to see that we get so we get so attached to these characters so quickly because of the way they're so well written. So very, very awesome. The next thing I liked was, and this kind of goes back to what I said about the Kylo Ren's use of the Force and stopping that laser blast, and that is new ways to use the Force, new uses for the Force. Like I said before, Jedi mind tricks, telekinesis, and also foreseeing of the future. That was what we're so used to. But we get to see it used a lot more. For example, mind reading. All right? But mind reading in a way where they're mind battling each other's mind reads. For example, when Kylo Ren is trying to read the mind of Rey, she fought back using her abilities of the Force. So that was pretty cool. They were kind of like forcing each other, you know what I'm saying? Also, what else did they do using the Force? He was able to, he paused the laser blast. You know what? I really can't quite remember, but there was like different uses of the Force that we've never seen before, and it really blew my mind to the point where I can't even remember what happened. I guess I'll have to watch it a third time, but I do remember that there was a couple of ways that they used the Force that was very, very different. What else did we do? Oh, the Stormtrooper with the electric stick. Okay, I don't even know what it's called, but the Hot Toys figure that was introduced recently, they calls it the Riot Control Stormtrooper. All right, that's the one with the nightstick that has the electricity at the end of it, who did a bit of a duel with Finn when when he was doing a lightsaber fight, right? So that was really, really awesome. He drops his melee weapons. He drops his melee weapons, and then suddenly he swings this electric stick, and then he uses it as a hand-to-hand weapon. That was really cool. Once again, something we've never seen before. New elements being introduced, keeping the saga or keeping this new episode fresh. All right. You know what? A lot of people kind of were on the fence about this, but I actually like this, and that was the fact that they had a lot of familiar elements, such as there was a new Death Star. There was like a trench run even, like a mini trench run. And inside the Death Star, the interiors looked the same. I actually liked that. There was a lot of elements in this one that felt very, very familiar with A New Hope. In fact, some people were calling it a similar hope just because it felt so similar to A New Hope. And I really didn't mind that at all. Some people felt that they recycled things from the previous episodes, but I feel that after so long since the original trilogy, you kind of need to do that just to bring it back to the originals, just to show the fans that, look, we're bringing back some awesome things that you loved about the original trilogy, and while we're also going to introduce new things about the trilogy. So I actually liked it. Some people thought it was a rehash, but I liked it a lot. So that worked for me. Next, the lightsaber duels. There was really only 2 lightsaber duels, and the first lightsaber duel wasn't even against an opponent with a lightsaber. It was the guy with the electric baton. But that was a way to show us that the lightsaber duels are going to be different, because once we got to the Kylo Ren lightsaber duel at the very end of the movie, it felt very, very different. The original trilogy set the standard for the way lightsaber fights were supposed to be. In fact, in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, lightsaber fights were very emotional. In the prequels, the lightsaber fights felt too much like a dance, over-choreographed. Of course, at the time, when the first time we watched it, they were really, really cool, because we've never seen lightsaber fights like that. Jedi and Sith were at their prime. But now that we get to Episode 7, It's very, very different. It's been a long time since a lightsaber has even been swung. So what we're seeing is when we saw the Kylo Ren versus Finn, Kylo Ren versus Rey lightsaber fight, it actually felt like two noobs swinging at each other aggressively, not really knowing how to use a lightsaber. Of course, Kylo Ren had the upper hand with his training, but still, the lightsaber fighting was not very refined. It wasn't very, clean looking. It felt very aggressive, very messy, and it showed you the skill or lack of in how these lightsaber fighters were trained. They didn't have much training. They were just trying to going for self-preservation, especially the resistance fighters, or rather, especially like our heroes, Rey and Finn. They were fighting out of self-preservation, or fighting out of revenge, or fighting out of emotion. Kylo Ren was, of course, on the dark side, he was fighting straight out of anger, right? So you actually see that, and lightsaber duels were a really clear extension of the way they felt, all right? Really, really awesome. And on top of that, I liked the way Kylo Ren's lightsaber looked. It was very crude looking. It wasn't straight. It was very messy. It was all over the place. So it showed you his I guess how refined he was in the ways of training with the dark side of the Force. So very, very cool. All right. Moving on. Oh yeah, speaking of lightsaber, I like that the tri-saber, I'm going to call it a tri-saber, that's Kylo Ren's lightsaber. I like the tri-saber actually served the purpose. At first I thought it was just for show to have the two things stick out of it, but when the shorter part of the lightsaber on the guard, on the hilt, when it hit Finn's shoulder, I felt like, okay, this is cool because this is actually quite devastating. Kylo Ren has the upper hand just because of not just his training, but the way his lightsaber is built. So, very, very cool. It actually served a purpose. It wasn't just for show. Okay, now here's another really awesome scene that I really liked. It was kind of surprising, and that is when the lightsaber flew to Rey instead of Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren was after that lightsaber for a long time, and he wanted that lightsaber. It was so his at that point, but then it flew to Rey, and that was like a holy crap moment because it was the true reveal that Rey knows the ways of the Force. So that was great. Another thing that I liked was the Han and Chewie moments. Han and Chewie, classic, iconic duo of the original trilogy, which have great chemistry. That chemistry is back. And they had a lot of great moments together. In fact, I feel that they have a lot of moments that stand out more than some moments in the iconic trilogy. For example, Chewie gets to actually use his bowcaster, okay? He used it, and we as the audience get to see how devastating that bowcaster is, alright? This is Chewie's classic weapon, and it's not just a laser rifle, like your typical laser rifle. It does a lot more than that, and it shows, okay? I mean, and there's that scene, of course, where Chewie gets shot, and there's a lot of, like, Chewie humor moments and Chewie chemistry moments with Han. So, you see all that wonderful dialogue that takes place, even though it's in wiki language, it still is so brilliant, alright? And of course, there's those Han moments, alright? Han Solo being Han Solo. And it's been so long since Harrison Ford has played that character, but he does it so well. It's like he never left as playing that character. All those little, clever lines of dialogue that he puts out, all those humorous moments, all of those snarky kind of cheeky moments that he has, it's all there. And what really, really made me feel goosebumps was when Han and Leia see each other for the first time, and they're talking like the relationship never ended. Alright, they're continuing where they left off, and like Han and Leia is like one of the greatest relationships in cinematic history, okay? Like their relationship is iconic, okay? You know, they got the classic line from Empire Strikes Back, "I love you, I know." It's all there. And their dialogue together, it's just like back in Empire Strikes Back. It's awesome. It is very nostalgic. It works, and you can see that their love for each other never died. Okay, so I love that. I think that's about the things that I have listed here. Of course, there are tons of great moments. I mean, there are even like moments which are like even moments when they yell out traitor, okay? Like the stormtrooper yell out traitor, and then Kylo Ren yells out traitor. You know, that is awesome because they really address something about Finn's character. But anyways, I think that is the main thing I really wanted to say about the things that I loved about the movie. I'm sure there's tons more when I watch it again for the third time. But let's talk about the things that I felt could have been improved, okay? I think there's two things that could have been improved. For example, the destruction of Starkiller Base, it felt a little bit easy, alright? You have Poe Dameron, who's the best X-Wing pilot in the Resistance, and he kind of does it alone. Sure, there was the thermal detonators that helped them in the interior, but essentially they flew inside, they shot a couple of walls and some pillars of Starkiller Base inside the interior, and then suddenly the thing blows up. It has like a internal combustion, and it blows up just like the exact same way as the Death Star number 2 in Return of the Jedi. And I really did like the familiar elements in Force Awakens, but I felt that this was too easy. It just felt too easy. Destroying Death Star number 2 in Return of the Jedi was a huge task. It wasn't easy, but when they did it, alright, once they got there, it was very satisfying. Alright, when Starkiller Base was destroyed, it was a great moment, but wasn't as satisfying as Return of the Jedi. I felt that the lightsaber duel was more like the big climactic finale as opposed to the actual destruction of Starkiller Base itself. So I felt that the Starkiller Base destruction was a little bit too easy. Okay, there was not enough sacrifice that took place, even though there was only like I think there was 4 or 5 X-Wing pilots left that were still alive. I didn't feel that much of a sacrifice that took place to destroy Starkiller Base. Thus, it felt quite simple. Alright, that's number one. Don't get me wrong, I really loved the final battle, and I thought that Force Awakens itself is a very amazing film. 9.75 out of 10, but I think that had they made it a little bit more difficult to destroy Starkiller Base, I think it would have been better for me. Alright? The other thing that I felt could have been improved was, and this is kind of contradictory, I love the things that were familiar to a lot of fans, such as the rehashed elements, but at the same time I felt that if they replaced those rehashed elements with all new elements, it would make it even better. Alright, so, you know, when I saw the trench run again, I was thinking, okay, this is kind of cool, but at the same time, couldn't they have done something new? You know what, it's a kind of I'm kind of on the fence about it, but at the same time I like it, at the same time I also think that it could have been better that way. But those are the only things that I felt could have been improved, alright? Now let's move on to some of the things that really surprised me. Han Solo's death, okay? That, once we got to that scene, it started getting dark. The sun was slowly being blotted out by the clouds. It started getting dark. That was when you knew that Han Solo was going to die. Even though you knew Han Solo was going to die, nothing could prepare you for when that was really going to happen. When it happened, and then Han Solo was impaled by Kylo Ren's lightsaber, I literally screamed, no. I went, no! In that physical motion. It was crazy. I don't think anything could prepare you for that scene. It was really quite a shock, even though you knew that it was going to happen. Kylo Ren being the son of Han and Leia, that was a gasping moment. When Supreme Leader Snoke said that something about his parents or something, I was like, what? I was like, oh, are you serious? That is a huge revelation. That is crazy. But I love the fact that they did that. I don't even know why I didn't even think of that. Like, I couldn't even come up with that at all, and I think a lot of fans didn't know. They kept on thinking that that is actually Luke, or it's Luke's son, or whatever. But the fact that it was Han and Leia's son, I don't think anybody saw that. Another thing that I thought was kind of shocking was Starkiller Base destroyed not just one planet, but 5 planets. Thankfully, none of them were actually Coruscant. If they actually blew up Coruscant, I think I would be quite upset. I have a bit of an attachment to Coruscant, even though we don't get to see a whole lot of it. I mean, we saw a lot of it in the prequel trilogy, but still, it's a planet that I'm quite familiar with, and I'm sure there are a lot of good people on Coruscant. I don't have any attachment to whatever planets they destroyed, but it's still quite shocking, especially when you see that scene where the people of that planet see this bright red light coming towards them, and they're like, okay, what the hell is happening? This looks bad. And then they just blew up 5 planets. There are billions and billions of people. That's freaking genocide, okay? That is shocking to me, all right? That was just a bit... Like, that didn't sit well with me, the fact that they blew up, like, they literally murdered, like, so many people. And it shows you how evil the First Order is. Like I said before in my spoiler-free review, the First Order is pretty much the Empire on steroids, okay? They are out for destruction. And, yeah. And the final shocking thing that I found was quite shocking to me was Rey knowing the ways of the Force. I really did not see that one coming. In the marketing, you see Finn holding lightsabers, so you're thinking, like, how could he know the ways of the Force? Okay, I guess he's a Jedi, alright? But, you don't... I did not see that coming when Rey was able to use the Force, okay? Rey touching the lightsaber, suddenly seeing all these images. Maz Kanata telling her that this lightsaber belongs to you, right? What is going on here? Once I'm seeing these things take place, I'm thinking to myself, like, what does she have anything to do with the Force? And I still didn't buy it at that time, right? And then later on, we see the mind control battle between Rey and Kylo Ren. I was thinking, holy crap, is this really happening? And then finally, she uses it against the Daniel Craig stormtrooper, mind controlling him with Jedi mind trick. Then at that moment I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is nuts. She actually knows the ways of the Force. And finally, when the lightsaber flies to Rey's hand instead of Kylo Ren, I was like, okay, this is the icing on the cake. She really knows the ways of the Force, because, like, I was not 100% convinced until it actually happened, but you can still see that her knowledge of the Force is very, very, like, noob-like, right? So she's still learning the ways, and but to see it actually happen, that was a huge surprise to me. That was actually quite a pleasant surprise. Finally, let's go on to some questions, and maybe we don't even have any answers for these questions, because I find that The Force Awakens plays out like A New Hope. You got a lot of questions, but you won't have an answer for them until we get to Empire Strikes Back, which, well, in essence, Episode 8 will be the Empire Strikes Back, or hopefully be the Empire Strikes Back to Force Awakens, which will answer the questions that we have for the film, because there are a lot of questions, alright? There are a lot of questions that I have to ask, but I'm positive that we won't have an answer except for a bunch of theories, because we really don't know a whole lot. The whole point of Force Awakens was to open doors to a whole new story, and it does that. So let's go on to the questions, alright? So, what was Lor San Tekka's role? Like who is he? Alright, that's the character played by Max von Sydow. And how did he come about the Luke Skywalker information? Like, how does he know anything about Luke Skywalker? How did Poe Dameron even know about the fact that Lor San Tekka knew anything about it? And what is his role? Who is he? Alright, he's a mysterious character, right? Once again, so that's mystery number 1. Number 2, why did R2-D2 suddenly activate? Why did that happen? I mean, BB-8 couldn't get R2-D2 to activate the first time, but the second time he just kind of turned on its own. Alright, and that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I didn't question it until, like, the second time I watched the movie, because, like, I noticed that there was really nothing that could have triggered him turning on, alright? Number 3, what is the deal with Rey? And, like, who is she? Like, why does she... What is her relationship with Luke Skywalker? What is her background? She's such an interesting character. What is she all about, alright? What is up with C-3PO's arm? I thought they were going to explain it by the time we get to the end of the movie, but they didn't explain anything. And if you noticed, at the very, very end of the movie, C-3PO's arm goes from red back to gold. Alright? It's a very, very quick scene, but it goes from red to gold. So another question. Next question is, what is the Knights of Ren? All right, I'm just gonna leave that out there for you guys. Who is Supreme Leader Snoke? Who is he really? A lot of people were pointing out at the possibility of him being Darth Plagueis. All right, a character that you would only know anything about if you are familiar with Expanded Universe. The only time that Darth Plagueis has been mentioned in the saga is in Revenge of the Sith. Okay, so if you're not a fan of Revenge of the Sith and you know nothing about the Expanded Universe, you're gonna be completely in the shadows about who Darth Plagueis could have been or could be. Finally, this is a question that I'm going to leave up to the fans, but was Starkiller Base built around a planet, or did they build a planet around a base? That means they have to bring mountains and snow into this base, into this technology. But anyways, those are all the questions that I have, and those are the things that I really liked about the movie, and those are the things that I thought could have been improved, and those are some of the surprising, shocking elements that I found about the movie. I'm sure there could be a lot more things that I love about this film, but those are all the things that I could remember, alright? Anyways, this is the end of my spoiler-free talkback discussion. Let me know your thoughts about anything that I've talked about in the comment section below. If you have any questions, or rather, if you have any answers for any of my questions, also feel free to comment below. But I have a feeling that a lot of these questions will be answered in episode 8, which will be directed by Rian Johnson, okay? Which is coming in a year and a half from now. Okay, that's all I gotta say in this video. Let me know some of the things that you really, really liked about Star Wars The Force Awakens, and some of the things that you thought could have been improved. What are some of the things that surprised and shocked you about this film? And do you have any questions about the movie? Let me know all of them in the comment section below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name's Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Out of it. And basically that is her regular struggle. But she's waiting. She's waiting for something. She doesn't know if it'll ever happen, but she is waiting, and